Back with another episode of Council Bluffs Today. I am Todd Studer, and thank you so much for being a part of things. Thanks for the wonderful comments that I keep getting about these programs. Very grateful that you are following. We're seeing the growing followers list, and today we're going to learn a little bit more about one of the candidates for the County Board of Supervisors in Pottawattamie County. This is Shawna Anderson, and thank you so much for making a drive over.
Thank you so much for having me and having the opportunity to be able to talk with you.
All right, so you are in Oakland, Iowa,
Yes,
correct?
I'm in rural Oakland.
Rural Oakland,
yes.
so not actually inside the city
Not
limits.
inside the city limits. Nope.
So what does someone living in rural Oakland have to go through that says, you know what, I need to run for County Board of Supervisors? How did that connection happen for you?
I don't know that it connected necessarily from the fact that I live in rural Oakland. I mean, obviously there are things that I deal with. County roads, I'm lucky I live on one of the few paved roads that recently was redone. But I do drive a lot of those county roads. I've knocked a lot of doors for candidates and done it out in the rural areas where nobody else wants to do it, which is part of what makes me enjoy rural Iowa and helped me to connect not just to my neighbors, but the neighbors throughout the county that live more rurally. But I also have a business in Council Bluffs. And I just kind of started getting involved in the supervisors meetings, going to the meetings, paying attention after a few certain things that happened. And I've been going to those meetings since like late 2020, early 21. So.
And what are some of the things that you've learned that made you want to throw your hat into the ring?
Honestly, sometimes the way that money is spent, the decisions being made as to where exactly we put funding versus where we don't put funding. Sometimes that being in, different things that help the residents of Pottawattamie County, like for instance, the board is really wanting to sunset some of the funding going to the PACE Center. I would disagree with that. I see a lot of value in the PACE Center and what they offer. They offer classes that are affordable and easy for people in Pottawattamie County to go to. They have art classes for kids, cooking classes. They bring in exhibits that you don't have to pay to go see, such as when they had Anne Frank there at the Chanticleer, they had an exhibit to go along with that. And even if you, for whatever reason, maybe couldn't afford the ticket to go see Anne Frank, you could still go see the exhibit about the Holocaust. And so they bring a lot of education and a lot of community coming together for honestly affordable price, and that's very accessible for the people of Pottawattamie County.
Well, let me echo a little bit then about what you're saying about PACE, because I know the folks over
Yes.
there. And Fourth Friday is one of my, it's like a really fun event. I don't get to all of them, but I have been to them and they're a lot of fun. What, to me, grows communities is when you have different things for different people and availability for them to have things to do. So PACE being who they are, and especially, with Chanticleer, when they start doing some of the theater work, they're pulling young people and actors from everywhere, not just inside of town. So I can see your point to what it is that you're talking about with that and wanting to make sure that continues, because there is value there, and that is what grows communities.
Yes, and bringing those kids in for something like that they love to do keeps them there as adults, which keeps them here, which is a lot of what the board is tasked with doing, is keeping families here and growing our tax base. I hate to say that because I hate to call people and families our tax base, but essentially broken down on paper, it's, we need to grow our tax base, right? The more income we have coming in, the better services we can provide for our community. So, and I feel very strongly that PACE does a really exceptional job of doing that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk in Council Bluffs especially, but I know also in some of the more rural communities, that attracting young people and getting younger families, school-age children, young school-age children, to be a part of things. Because as many people know that watch the show, I grew up in Northwest Iowa, and the communities there are all but gone because no one had the forethought to try to encourage younger families to come in. As the population aged, everybody just wanted peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And
I can also understand with that. That's why I live where I live. I love my peace and quiet, but I'm
right.
close enough to the not so peaceful and not so quiet. So.
Right. But at the same time, when you take a look at what is going to attract young people, it's things like pace. It's things like communities having their own grocery store or different different things that make it so they can stay close to home. They know that, oh, if there's a doctor there, or if there's a dentist there, or some type of entertainment for the young people, or anything like that. And again, preaching to the choir, I do it all the time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But this still is, you'd mentioned something before that you said you were out door knocking. I think what you were saying, this was not for you, this was for other candidates.
No.
Would that be right?
Yes, I have door knocked for quite a few candidates throughout the year.
So you have actually been involved with politics at a campaigning level before.
Yes.
Have you done it for yourself? Have you ever, is this your first time running, or have you run for other offices?
It's my second time running.
Okay.
I did run in 2020 for the Iowa State House, which was at the time District 22, which of course I kind of made that decision at the very last minute. I literally filed my papers 2 days before they were due, mostly because there wasn't any other choices on the ballot. And I think we should always have choices, right? And then it was, 2 days after I filed my papers that they closed down the State House due to COVID. And everything was totally different for that campaign as a campaign level. There was no, we didn't do door knocking. We did outreach in other ways. And I'm really excited this time to be able to actually interact with people face to face and have real-time conversations with them.
Now, because you are running on the Democratic ticket and there's only 2 candidates, and 3 would automatically would be able to go through from the primaries into the general election, what does that do for your focus on your campaign right now? Because a lot of those on the Republican side with 9 different candidates, they are very, very active.
Yes, they are.
So does that put you into an activity place, or are you more laid back right now?
I would say I'm more laid back than what I would be if I didn't have to worry about or if I did have to worry about the primary, but I am still very active. I've been doing a lot of like meet and greet breakfast type things, whether that's doing that with other state house candidates or, just kind of tagging along per se, or just having different events to be able to introduce myself, let people know who I am. I did a little bit of door knocking a couple days ago for the first time finally, but I intend on doing plenty of that, especially as things start getting ramped up.
Good morning. Start with peace of mind. My Nurse Healthcare provides professional in-home support where it matters most, helping individuals maintain comfort, dignity, and independence in their daily lives. Their experienced nursing team focuses on personalized care, clear communication, and supporting families through every step of the process. It is healthcare built on trust, compassion, and real relationships. Learn more at mynursehealthcare.com. If you have a leak, a clogged drain, or even if you're planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered. With fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. They're locally owned and trusted and take pride in doing the job right the first time. Residential or commercial, big or small, when plumbing problems strike, they're the ones to call. Visit waldsteinplumbing.com. You're aware of the political climate in this country just like everybody else is. And for some that are hearing this, I say the word Democrat for you, and that will instantly, some people will say, no, never. That also goes the other direction.
Yes.
That there would be some, if I were to say Republican, there would be some that would say, no, never. How do you start a conversation with someone that
exactly like we're doing right now?
Yeah.
I start a conversation saying, my name is Shawna Anderson. I'm running for Board of Supervisors. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma. I live rurally. I have a small business here in Council Bluffs. When I first moved to Iowa in 97, I moved to Carter Lake with my grandparents to help take care of my grandpa at the time. Got married. We bought our first house in Council Bluffs, and all we wanted to do was get out on an acreage, and we accomplished that.
Yeah.
And I have democratic values. There's no question about that. I have values that align with the Democratic Party, but I can tell you that on the level of the Board of Supervisors, I don't think that matters. Right now, all 5 of the board members are Republicans. So some could say that, well, maybe you need a difference of opinion to come in there because you should have some different thought process. That's the reason why we have 5 on the board anyways. So I would tell you that that would be a good thing to bring a little bit of difference in values onto that board so that you do have a little bit more push and pull instead of everything just pulling one direction. I would also say that honestly, it probably doesn't matter that much which your political party is on that board. We were talking a little bit before we got started with this. You said that you had interviewed Susan Miller as well. And I will say I have a huge amount of respect for Susan. We may not always agree on everything. I think she does a wonderful job. I've had no issue telling everybody that I hope she retains her seat. She does the homework, she does the work. I think she honestly cares about this community. And I think that's what matters when you come to the board. I honestly wish that supervisor seats, mayoral seats, city council, school board, your party affiliation really shouldn't matter for those hyper-local politics.
Yeah, that we will definitely agree on, and I think that yes, it does. We have a lot of different views in this country, and when we start drawing lines in the sand, as hard as we have about everything that we have, look, I get it that some different policies are important enough that yeah, you do need to go to the mat about it, but not everything. And there's some things that just, are you kidding me? This is just so silly that that we're even arguing about this. Now, again, this is it's tough for a guy like me who just kind of runs away from politics. But at the same time, I know that it takes folks like you that are willing to say, all right, I'm going to stick my hat in this ring here, and we're going to find out what I can do with this. And something that I talked to Susan about, and when that interview comes out, people will see it, and I'll mention it to you too. You can do a lot of things, but what you can't do is actually go into the booth and say, all right, here's where I want you to sign. You can't do that. So a lot of this is out of your control.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just taking care of you and focusing on what it is that you do.
Yes. And I mean, when you talk about going to the mat, or the hill you would die on, or going to the mat, there are some policies that are worth that. For me, in this in this race, the policy that is worth that is anything that is surrounding our water, whether it be access to drinking water or the health of our drinking water. That is something that I think a lot of people are not realizing that could be an issue in Pottawattamie County. I think a lot of people of Council Bluffs, they don't think about it. They turn on their water and it's no big deal because they are on city water. A lot of us out in the rural areas that are on wells, a lot of my friends and neighbors, their wells have gone dry in the last couple of years.
Really?
They've tried digging new wells and sometimes they can't reach water. Now, granted, this last year we've had a significant amount of rain that has, eased up a bit, but I think it's still very important to realize that water is not an infinite resource for us. And there are a lot of things coming into or through Pottawattamie County that will use our water. And we need to really be paying a lot of attention to that. So that is something that where I am really good at compromise. And, we had talked about that earlier. I think the board should function like a marriage, there should be some give and some take, and sitting down and actually having good conversations instead of yelling and screaming and building a wall. You've got to be able to compromise, right? Water quality and the access to water is something that, that's the hill that I'm willing to die on. I think it's very important. And I think it's something that is a little bit more in danger than a lot of people in the county might realize.
How's your well doing? Is it still? I'm not trying to jinx anything.
This isn't a fiberboard table, right? It's wood.
This is actual legitimate wood built about 100 years ago. So,
but yeah, so far so good. Our neighbors to the north, though, they were pumping water from the creek on top of the ground to try and soak in more water last winter.
Just last
Not
winter.
even in the summer, but last winter. So, they were having a lot of issues with their well. So,
Yeah, I know there's other parts of the country that are really deal with that. In fact, some states are even water rights are even an issue when it comes to purchasing land and things like that. That it's a separate issue with how much water you can have. So,
yes.
I would hate to see us have to get to that point that suddenly water rights are now incorporated into land ownership and things like that. That would be a really tough area for us to have to get into. But if wells are running dry, we got a problem.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, my neighbors and I obviously were on the same aquifer. You know what I mean? We're tapped into the same water resource. And, and some of the people that are out in the county and the small towns, they are also on, their city's water, but we've had some issues with those water towers, being too low and having boil orders and water restrictions because when those the water levels get low, that means we have less dilution. So the nitrate levels come up higher. And that is where, my concern about clean, safe drinking water comes into play as well. So it's not just the access to being able to tap into water, but also knowing that the water that we're drinking and using is safe for us to do so.
Tired of hot rooms, harsh glare, and zero privacy? Tint Advantage has the solution. With advanced window film, you can cut heat before it even enters your home or business, reduce glare on screens, and keep your natural light in view. And with smart film, your glass goes from clear to private in seconds. Total control, right at your fingertips. Comfort, privacy, and efficiency, all in one upgrade. Visit tintadvantage.com and take control of your space today. Morning coffee supported by Bryce Taylor and GLI Insurance Group, serving Council Bluffs, Tabor, and Clarinda. Springtime in Iowa. A good time to take 5 minutes and make sure your home, vehicles, and anything you're pulling out for warmer weather are properly covered. Bryce and the GLI team live and work right here in our communities and are always happy to help you head into spring with confidence. GLI Insurance Group, local service, all seasons. I think we're seeing more and more of a realization about that. I mean, when the studies came out and shown that Iowa was the only state that had a rising cancer rate, and the fact that there's reasons for all of these things that people are experiencing, yeah, we haven't been real good about that.
Yeah.
And having going back not too far, about a month or a month and a half ago, we interviewed Chad Gravy from Pottawattamie Conservation, and I could talk to that man every day.
He is so smart.
Yeah,
He's so smart. I see him a lot of times at the board meetings.
Right, but we talked about
Yes.
What land management can do for water quality and things like that, because he explained what had happened out there. So there's different things that we can do that we do need to be paying attention to. And from my vantage point, we're just starting to wake up about this. It seems like we've had our head in the sand for a while.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
So what's next for Shawna Anderson and her campaign? I mean, you can just go right past the primary. You don't have to worry about that. So at what point do you really step on the gas and say, okay, now I've got to get after it?
My step on the gas is probably coming immediately following Memorial Day weekend. I do have some obligation between now and then. Part of that is actually, which if anybody is listening and you said this will come out tomorrow, so that will be in time. They are still looking for volunteers. I have quite a few shifts for volunteering for the Wall That Heals,
Yes.
the Vietnam Memorial Wall. So I signed up for quite a few shifts for that. So that will be keeping me busy over that weekend.
I don't know if you'd heard, I'm emceeing the opening ceremonies.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Unfortunately, the 2:00 when they're bringing the wall in.
No, this would be a Friday evening when the actual opening ceremonies and everything is just first brought on. So I actually have somebody else coming in later today to do an interview on that. We'll talk with them too. So that
will be at work, unfortunately.
But so that will, I think it's at 5:30, 5 or 5:30 on Friday is when the opening ceremonies are. So I was honored that they asked.
That is really amazing. You should be honored.
Very much so. And again, I repeat myself, but that's okay. The reason that I'm doing this is because my father served during Vietnam time. He wasn't in country, but he was a corpsman in the Navy back when Vietnam was going on. And I know that even though my dad did not live here, if he were still alive, he would be here. And I know that for a fact. So because he can't, I'm going to step in. And that's why I'm doing it. And it's important that we treat this that's coming with the honor and the respect that it deserves, because it's a big deal.
It really is.
We're getting this.
It really is.
And before we got started, I didn't even know that you were that you were such an integral part of it. So thank you very much for stepping up. And
I am glad to. But yeah, like I said, though, it's, I've got quite a few little shifts that I'm signed up for. So I will probably really step on the gas after the holiday weekend and, have a little bit more free time.
A lot of, you talked about door knocking and getting out there and doing that. I don't know why that works, but it seems to. I mean, people are still doing it.
I think being able to meet people where they're at is very important. Being able to hear from people what concerns they have, because there could be things that are just not even on my radar, and I want to know about them.
Right.
And honestly, years ago when I started door knocking for the first time, there was a candidate that I was particularly jazzed and, worked up about. And oh my goodness, my kids were old enough that I could start spending the time knocking doors. And I really just enjoyed the conversations that I would have and hearing from people and hearing about their thoughts and what exactly they were going through. And that really has inspired me a lot to be more involved in politics, which sounds really weird because honestly, like you said, I kind of dislike politics as well, but I also find it very interesting and very important. And I try to keep up on what's going on and what can be done.
Well, it is the system we have.
Yeah, it is.
And we can be upset about it or dislike it or whatever, but it is a system we have. So just ignoring it doesn't help anybody.
No. And you can also use it to your advantage. I mean, I chair a citizens group here in Pottawattamie County. I don't know if you're aware, Concerned Citizens of Pottawattamie County. I got involved with them quite a while ago. We just formally filed our nonprofit status last September. And, speaking of both sides being able to work together, one of our main issues that we've been working on, and I don't know if you've seen anything about it, is the blocked rail crossings and the Triangle of Death, Iron Triangle, Bermuda Triangle, so many different names. And I think a lot of people don't understand that the residents that actually live within that triangle can't go around. They need to get in or out of where they live. And we've been working on that for over 2 years. And we were able to go up to the Capitol and speak with legislators. They put a bill through this year. It started out as House File 882 and then turned into House File 2793 once Brent Segrist was able to get some funding to it. And both Brent Segrist and Josh Turek, worked together, Republican and Democrat. Right. And were integral to being able to help us get this bill passed so that we can find some infrastructure solutions for the people that live in that area. So, I know that politics seems so unreachable, and I think a lot of people think that the people that are in public office, they aren't somebody that you can just have a conversation with or let them know, hey, this is what's bothering me. And that I think a lot of people don't realize you can go to the Capitol and you can talk to the people on subcommittee and you can testify and say, this is why this would help where I live, and be able to make those things happen. And I think a lot of times politics sounds very divisive, and it can be very divisive, but it can also be very unifying, because we watched as people that live here came together writing letters of support and, contacting their legislators to be able to push this through. So it's kind of amazing that a lot of times people think politics are very divisive, but I can also see where it can be very unifying. And I guess most people maybe wouldn't consider that as being politics, but really getting laws passed and getting legislation or ordinances or however you want to describe it going through is basically at the heart of what politics does, right?
I would agree with that. Absolutely. And also, I'm sure that wherever the root of that happened from, that Brent Segrist and Josh Turek were working on, it was presented in the right way.
Yes.
It had to have been.
Yeah.
Because you need to come at it from not a position of right or left or whoever it is, but this is just right. You got folks living here that can't get out, and that's dangerous, by the way.
It should be about.
Yeah.
Is helping people, looking at the people who are in your community and seeing what you can do to make things better for them.
Where's your business at? You said it's in Council Bluffs. Where is it?
Yes, we are on East Canesville. We are down by the Baumgars Plaza. I have a salon there called Salon Ecstasy. We've been open since May of 2009. Sorry, June of 2009. Signed the lease in May, but we've been
Same
open
location?
since, yes, same location since 2009.
How's that location worked out for you?
We've enjoyed it pretty well. You know, it's nice. It's easy on off the interstate. We do have a lot of people that come from the surrounding communities. A lot of our clientele comes, you know, obviously from here in Council Bluffs, sometimes Omaha. And so it's just the quick stop off the interstate, but also the smaller towns. You know, we've got a lot of Underwood, Neola, Avoca. So being there right off the interstate, I think makes it really nice.
Now you have a coffee shop out that way.
Yes, we do have a coffee shop out that way. And they are doing very well.
They seem to be.
Staying pretty busy.
They seem to be. I think it was
Saturday morning.
tough getting in.
Yeah, it's a little tough getting in sometimes, but, you know.
But it was needed, and also,
and I'm really glad to see them doing well. You know, I love seeing small businesses be able to make it here and do well.
Yeah, regardless of what the industry is, I do too. So the fact that you have been where you're at for as long as you have been says, okay, she knows something too. I mean, you're doing to be able to hang on to a business in one location for as long as you have. You're doing something right over there.
I mean, we managed to stay open through COVID. I mean, well, we were closed for 8 weeks, but we managed to make it, you know, through an 8-week long closure during COVID. So,
well, let me ask you this then: with being a small business owner and with longevity, how do you feel that translates into sitting on the Board of Supervisors?
A couple things. For one thing, you know, like we spoke about before, I know that the Board of Supervisors, they have a big budget. They have a budget of money that I've never had in my bank account. I don't know about you, but I probably will never have in my bank account unless some weird, who knows, right? I never even buy lottery tickets, but I have had to work a budget to make sure people get paid, make sure my bills get paid, make sure that the things that need repaired get repaired. You know, we've been through a couple washers and dryers. Let me tell you, lots of towels, and they're heavy when they're wet. You know, making sure that our insurance is up to date because accidents happen, making sure all of those things work well, but on a much smaller scale. With less money to maybe have an oopsie with than what the county has for sure. So, you know, I've been able to keep that budget. And like I said, even through 8 weeks of closure through COVID, being able to keep our rent paid, keep our lights on, keep people paid, keep product on the shelf, keep product in the back room so that, you know, we can make your hair the beautiful color you'd like it to be and all of those things. But also another wonderful thing about being in the salon, which I've been in the salon for 27 years now. So I've been in the industry for 27 years. And something that's also very interesting is kind of like at those doors, the conversations that I have. I think a lot of people don't realize sometimes your hairstylist, we know everything. Not like we know everything, like everything in the books, right? But we know everything. We know about you. We know when your kids were born. We know when they're graduating. I just unfortunately didn't get out of work in time to go to a graduation party of someone, of a young woman whose mother's, that we also went to her graduation party. You know what I mean? Like I've known her since the day she was born. And so we get to see the changes that families and people go through, and we get to hear the issues that matter to them. You'd be really surprised of the, you know, little tidbits that you get along the way of what's making life easier for people, or sometimes what's making life harder, or even the ideas that they might have to make things better when you're behind the chair.
That is very true. And it's not something that I've ever thought of before, is just how in touch you are with all of these different people from all different areas.
Yes.
And what it is that is important to them. So yeah, I can see a connection there completely. So so that is pretty much everything that I have. What about what you have? I mean, what is it that you would like people to know about Shawna Anderson and why they should vote for you?
Well, we discussed the water issue. I think that is pretty high up on my priority. Also, and I hate to say this because I'm not big on the negative talk, but there has been some negativity around our board in the last year or two, right? And I think everybody in Pottawattamie County is fairly aware. There's been a lot of feelings of uncertainty with county employees. And I want county employees to know that they're valued, that they're listened to, that they're understood. I've had a lot of them reach out to me through the years. Probably in about this last year or two, I don't even remember what possessed me because, like I said, I always go to the meetings, and I think there was something that had happened at a meeting. I probably should go back and look and see what started the first one, but I had made a TikTok about whatever was going on at the county meeting, and it kind of gained some traction. And I'm like, oh, wait, nobody has paid attention to what's going on here.
Mhm.
Right. And so it was kind of interesting to be able to get people to paying attention. And from that, I have had a lot of county employees reach out to me and say, hey, this is what's not going well. And I absolutely value that because I think it is very important for our county employees to feel listened to, supported. That board presides over the department heads that then choose our county employees and what kind of working conditions they have. And I think that's very important. There's some union negotiations that I feel could be done a lot better for some of our county employees. Definitely care about the water and the soil, those sorts of things, and care about people's way of life out here. I know a lot of people have issues with possible wind turbines. And while I always say I'm more of a tree petter than a tree hugger. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the best at being super duper kind of Mother Earth. I wish I could do a little better. So I'm more of a tree petter, recycle where I can, reduce where I can. I'm really good at building things out of trash, but bringing that back to, in my heart of hearts, I think wind turbines are wonderful, but I also understand that, the residents of the county are not quite a fan of them. And so I think there are some other renewable energies that we can look into, looking into more solar and such as that. And definitely building, like I said, building our community, bringing in younger folks, bringing in families, looking at housing that's actually affordable. Some of these new housing developments that are going in the county, they're building $500,000-$600,000 homes, and that's not family housing in my mind. That's not something that's affordable to be able to get people to want to come to Pottawattamie County and stay here.
Well, I am thankful that you have taken the leap to get into the race because we need people doing that.
Yeah.
And we need to give people choices. And I'm grateful that you came on here to talk about your platform so people can learn about you so they can make an informed choice that not just, oh, I've never heard of her, so, let's just bypass that. No, you're out there and you're getting it done, and you are, over in Oakland, you're doing business at Council Bluffs, you are invested in Pottawattamie County.
My phone number's on my card. It's my personal cell phone number. Call me, ask me all the questions. I'm happy to answer them.
She is Shawna Anderson, and she is a candidate for Pottawattamie County Board of Supervisors. And we thank you for watching this episode of Council Bluffs Today. If you would do me a favor, and if you will look on whatever platform you're watching this on, see that like button? If you click it, that helps the algorithm, and one little piece at a time starts to push this information out even further around, and more people can see exactly what's going on and can learn more about Shawna and everyone else that we have and coming in here and sitting in the studio. So thank you very much for that. And my name is Todd Studer. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.